Welcome to the Punting is Winning podcast. Just two fans talking all things Hawkeyes. Here are your hosts, JD and Keith.
Welcome back, Hawkeye fans, to Punting is Winning, the All-Iowa podcast. We're your hosts, Keith and JD. Welcome back. I guess that's welcome back to me.
No, we didn't call each other ahead of time.
No.
And
No.
I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, did you do call each other? And no, we didn't. It just happened to be,
No.
He was wearing that and I was wearing this, and they just happened to match up.
Yep. I wore some Hawkeye swag down in the Bahamas and ended up sitting next to a couple at the table next to us the last night we were there that were from Altoona.
Oh,
said,
really?
Well, we got to travel 1,200 miles away to be, we're actually probably 5 miles away in real life.
Yeah.
Or in normal life, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then there was another girl there that was, she was a junior at Iowa. Yeah, so
You're going to meet Iowa fans everywhere you go.
yeah,
I
and
remember
of course,
one time
go out on the streets and they see your Hawkeye shirt and
Yep.
and the first thing they say is Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Yep.
yep, that's us.
Yeah, I remember one time I was out in Las Vegas and walking down the strip with my wife, and I happened to have on a Hawkeye button up. And somebody walked up and goes, "Oh, are you from Iowa?" And I said, "Yeah." Well, they were from Garner or someplace like that up in north central Iowa. And so it was, everywhere you go, you're going to meet an Iowa fan somewhere.
I say every time we've gone on vacation down in the Caribbean or to Mexico or whatever, we've always run into somebody that's either a Hawkeye fan or is from the state of Iowa, sees the Hawkeye gear and immediately recognizes it. So yeah. It's crazy.
Well, while you were gone vacationing in the Bahamas, we had something come up, and I know you know about
I
it.
saw it.
Kirk suspended him and John Budmeyer for one game.
Yeah. I think it's a bunch of crap, but
I agree. It's something that every coach does. It's just a matter of who gets told on, or who does the NCAA want to level their sights on. And I think you're going to see this happening a lot more often. I think you're going to see they're going to make an example of Iowa for one, and then they're going to start saying to everybody else, you see what happened here? If you don't get straight, it's going to happen to you too. And we're going to start looking for it a lot more than what we have been.
Well,
but it's more of a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, I just think it's crap. I mean, a good thing for Kirk is he's man enough to own it. Say, I screwed up.
Yeah,
I broke the rules. I'll pay the punishment. But you've got guys, you've got Michigan using Connor Stallions. You've got SEC teams paying players before they were allowed to be playing players. And you have all these coaches basically doing things that are unethical and illegal. And they're never going to own up to it. Captain Khaki Pants never owned up to his indiscretions at Michigan. Yeah, the Michigan fans are like, "Oh, we bought a cheeseburger." Well, it's more than just that. It's that plus the whole spying on other teams and scouting them like they were doing. And it wasn't just the cheeseburger thing. Yeah, he got suspended for that. He broke the rules. He should have. He also denied it and said he didn't do it until he got
tried to
cornered and then was like, "Okay, yeah, I did do it."
And he tried to cover it up too.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a big difference between that and what we saw. What was it, Tuesday or Monday that that press conference happened?
Tuesday or Wednesday, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I'm not too worried about it, to be honest.
No.
I would be more concerned if it would have happened later in the season when we're in the middle of Big Ten play. I'd have been more concerned about it then. But right now, first game, FCS opponent, I think we can handle this one without Kirk on the sidelines. I hope.
Well, and it's a game day
much.
thing. It's not like he's really missing out on week of practice or any of that. He's got to give up a week of off-campus recruiting, which, I mean, how much off-campus recruiting does Kirk Ferentz do, especially during the season? Probably not a whole lot.
Zero,
anyway.
probably. I mean, maybe not a little bit, but
Budmeyer might make a bit bigger difference. But again, it's 1 week. You could probably send somebody else in that week to say, "Oh, hey, I want you to go look at this guy. This is one of them that we were really wanting to get in here. So we'll send somebody else." So to me, that's not a big deal. I would probably feel less good about it if it was, going into the Iowa State game or
Right.
going into a Big Ten opponent, like you said, going into Illinois State. And not that Illinois State is a slouch team by any means. They're a pretty good FCS team, but they're an FCS team. It's not like they're the best FCS team. And we're going up against South Dakota State or North Dakota State, where might be a little bit more tricky. Yeah, they're going to be a challenge probably for a couple of quarters.
Right.
They'll be able to hang with us, and then the depth that Iowa has should be able to pull away. But
well, I appreciated at the press conference that somebody asked if the NCAA was going to, because I know this is self-imposed suspension to the university. I was just, my first question before anybody ever asked it, and it finally did get asked, is will the NCAA double down and actually suspend him again? Or is this, you're working with the NCAA to basically say, if we suspend him now, will everybody just calm down and it'll be good and we're done? Good. Or are you going to come back later after the investigation is complete? And even if they don't find anything more than they already know, are you going to impose another suspension? So I kind of get the impression from just the way things looked that maybe this is it. This is going to be all there is to it. We're done.
Seems very, very minor too. I mean, when you've got guys on the roster saying that you had coaches and representatives of universities reaching out to them, trying to get them to transfer, that's bigger tampering than somebody who you knew was already going into the portal.
Right.
It's, again, like I said, he broke the rules. He knows he broke the rules. He admitted it. He's taken his punishment like a man, which is better than a lot of the coaches around would do.
Yeah.
And, hopefully we're done with it. But it is kind of ticky-tacky. It's kind of like the whole gambling situation. Why is it that Iowa, and quite frankly, why is it Iowa and Iowa State that the only ones that got punished for that when it's happening all over the place?
Yeah, well, you can ask the Iowa DCI about that deal because they're the ones that initiated it.
That was a setup. Yeah, that guy had an agenda.
Yeah.
He was told to leave it alone, and he still went ahead with it. So
right. Yeah, but so that wasn't NCAA kind of went in after the fact on that deal, and
but again, it's the NCAA turning a blind eye to everybody else and just saying, oh well, Iowa's copping to it, so let's just leave it at that.
Well, it's easy to pick on Iowa, I guess.
Let's be consistent, and let's if you want to be a regulatory committee, then regulate everybody. Don't just regulate the people that self-report.
Well, I hope the NCAA looks at everything that's happening and takes them case by case, because I know that there's some shenanigans that were going on at Michigan, and they're still not done with that investigation. And there's a possibility that they may have to vacate some of their wins from last year. I don't know that. That's just been scuttlebutt going around. That
they got to show cause right now.
Well,
3-year show cause, actually.
Yeah. Well, so, we'll see. That is not done yet.
It's like I said, it's a bunch of crap where you've got teams that are known cheaters, known to be blatant cheaters that slide by. Kansas is basketball. There's another one that's a great example. They got caught, and they got caught red-handed.
Yep.
And there's nothing done to them.
Right.
I'm thinking, Emporia State's probably going to get punished for it. It's crap.
That's the blue bloods and the money that the makers of the money get let go, and the ones that aren't getting made an example of.
Yeah. So anyway, so I saw that when I was down there, and I didn't really think a whole lot of it, actually.
So it is game week.
Yeah, it is game
week. Been
week.
Waiting on it for almost 9 months.
Yeah, close to it.
And I'm excited for it, even though it is an FCS opponent. Speaking of the FCS opponent, I did some research, and I wanted to do a preview of the team. I know you did some also.
Yep.
So if you don't mind, we'll just start. I'll start. This is going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to be, oh, okay. And other stuff goes, I don't care. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that you may not have known. You may not even care to know. So I'm going to start. Illinois State University, Bloomington, Illinois. They've got a student population of 20,683.
What's Bloomington most famous for?
Wasn't McLean Stevenson's character on MASH from Bloomington, Illinois?
Colonel Henry Blake was from Bloomington, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
They are in the Missouri Valley Conference, same as like a lot of people in Iowa know UNI, University of Northern Iowa, same conference. Their mascot is Reggie Redbird. I didn't know if anybody knew that one or not. They finished 6-5 last year at 2023. They have some famous alumni. If you'd like, I'd give you 3 of them real quick.
Okay.
John Malkovich, Doug Collins,
Weird
basketball
dude.
player and also coach in the NBA. Or was in the NBA. I'm not sure if he still is. Maybe he still is. And Lori Metcalf from, I think she was on Roseanne or Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. So she's a very famous actress. Getting back to their sports, their coach is Brock Spack. He's in his 15th season.
Former defensive coordinator at Purdue under Joe Tiller back in the early 2000s.
Okay. So he's got some experience in the Big Ten, at least knows.
He's played at Iowa City
stadiums.
before.
Yep.
Well, they just played there in 2015, actually. So
95-65 overall record for him at Illinois State. And they are 60-48 in the MVC since he's took over.
I know that they've played some FBS teams recently, and they've been outscored 92-10 in the last, I want to say 3 or 4 games that they've played. But they have beaten a Power 5 team of Northwestern 9-7 back in, I think, 2016 maybe. And then I think in 2018, I believe they beat Colorado State as well.
Yeah, I saw Colorado State was a lot, but they beat them.
Not unaccustomed to beating some of the FBS teams. Obviously not on a consistent basis, but still.
They are their roster consists of 24 seniors, 29 juniors, 19 sophomores, and 44 freshmen, including redshirt freshmen. So that's that's a pretty good mix, really. Actually, if you think about it.
And they return quite a few starters from last year too.
They do. For 2023, I'll give you 2023 stats. They averaged 32.8 points per game on offense, but only allowed 20.5. So I don't know how they ended up with a 6-5 record. I guess they anyway. Average 5.8 yards per rush on offense, but allowed 3.5 yards per rush on defense. They averaged 236 yards passing per game while allowing a 192.2 yards per game allowed.
Okay.
They've got some transfers in from Kansas State. One of them is a quarterback named Jake Rubley. And then a wide receiver.
Iowa recruited him.
They may have. He went to Illinois State. And then wide receiver Xavier Lloyd from Kansas State also. There is another couple of transfers in.
One from Washington State and one from Minnesota on the offensive line, if I remember right.
Duke also on the offensive line, if I remember right.
That
then there's a guy from Western Michigan too. But what's that?
I think the kid from Washington State might have been on the D line.
Okay. So they have 2 quarterbacks. One is the new transfer in from Kansas State, Jake Rubley. And then they have the returning backup. Well, the starter is gone. And the returning backup is Tommy Rittenhouse. He is a junior. The running back room seems decent. They've got an all MVC running back named Mason King. He rushed for 980 yards and 14 TDs on 150 carries last season. They do have another running back that played some. His name is Winkers Wright. He rushed for 261 yards, 3 TDs on 36 carries. You do have a fullback, so they do play fullback, kind of like a little bit like Iowa used to.
Okay.
His name is Scotty Presson. He's a junior. And he's also got some competition from a gentleman named Seth Glantz. He's also vying for fullback.
I wonder if he gets it at first glance.
Yeah, that's his name, Glantz. We've got 3 receivers returning that are decent. They actually have a decent receiver core coming back. Daniel Sobkowitz, he's got 68 receptions, 933 yards, and 10 TDs last year.
We'd love to have those numbers.
Eddie Casper, no relation to the Ghost. 48 receptions, 432 yards, and 1 TD. And then Jalen Carr, 18 receptions, 135 yards, and also 1 TD. So, some of their skilled position players, not too bad. They do have a quarterback. They'll have to figure that part out because they don't have a returning starter. And I don't think Jake Ridley probably played very much at Kansas State.
I want to say four completions and 6 attempts, maybe. Something like that.
But I look for him or Tommy Rittenhouse to be the starter. And they may, and I don't know if they're going to do this or not.
Rotate.
I'm not sure if they may rotate. I don't know if Brock Spack actually is of that mindset to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just straight drop back QBs or if one's a more mobile, one's a drop back kind of guy. If that's still the role, but I didn't get that
game video or anything like that. I probably could have this week at some point, but I just didn't do that. Awesome offensive line. They've got 3 starters. They're pretty good sized boys. Hunter Zambro is 6'5", 300. Jake Pope, 6'7", 295. Ryan Gudatis, he's 6'4", 295. And then they had some transfers in. Duke transfer Elijah Roten, he's 6'3", 215 or 315. Minnesota transfer JJ Gadet, 6'8", 315, tall guy there. And then they got a Western Michigan transfer name of Brandon Smith. He's 6'4", 290. That should pretty much take care of their offense.
Yeah.
They got a decent defense. They've got some very good linebackers coming back.
Yeah.
A lot of tackles, a lot of stops. Their defensive linebackers basically the anchor of the defense. So they're a little like Iowa in that respect. Very good.
I did see they had 3 defensive backs that were coming back as well.
Yeah, the 3 seniors at safety and a senior and a junior at cornerback. So, yeah, the linebackers are junior Amir Abdullah, 64 tackles, 14 for loss, 9.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles.
I thought he was a running back at Nebraska.
There might be the same guy, but it might be 2 different people too.
Yeah.
Ty Niekamp, 74 tackles, 9 for loss. Lavois Deontay McCoy, 74 tackles, 5.5 losses for tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and 2 interceptions. That's pretty good for a linebacker.
Yeah.
Then they're stacked solid as seniors at safety. They've got 3 different guys that are seniors that play safety. Keandre Jackson, 3-season starter. He's 76 tackles, 6.5 for loss, 3 sacks, and a pick. Dylan Gearhart, also a 3-season starter, 64 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss. And then CJ Hodgson, who is will probably be a first-year starter, or not, I don't know if you start, but he'll play. 23 tackles last season, he recorded. So, corners, Mark Gannon Jr. We know Mark Gannon, don't we? Didn't he used to play for Iowa in basketball?
Yeah.
He had 10 starts, 46 tackles, and 3 interceptions last season. He is a junior also. Nigel White, a senior at corner, 11 games last season, 14 tackles. So I don't know that he started, but apparently he did get some playing time, enough to get 14 tackles. So what do you think of their linebackers and D-backs?
I liked
very upper class laden.
Yeah, I liked their linebackers. Obviously, I wouldn't trade their linebackers for ours by any means. I think ours are better. They have a little bit more experience on the back end, I think, than what we'll have. That's not saying that we don't have experience back there, but I think, Quinn Schulte and Jamari Harris had plenty of starting experience in the Big Ten and at a Power 5 school. Xavier Wampa as well. So I think it's pretty even. We might have, I'd say we probably have the advantage in both spots. Just from overall talent standpoint and probably from a depth aspect as well.
I would hope we would.
But I think it's a situation I think those guys will be able to hang with us for probably 2 quarters.
Yeah, first half.
It's the depth that's gonna take us.
Yeah.
And that's usually the way it is with an FBS depth versus
It might
FCS.
also depend too, when you talk about depth, it might also be a situation where if Saturday's really hot, it's going to take a little bit more of a toll on them just from a depth standpoint. Iowa can bring in so many more guys that are of higher quality. You start getting down third, fourth string at FCS level, and there's a big difference between.
There's a huge difference between second string and second string FCS and FBS. Yeah,
right,
definitely.
exactly.
Starter for starter, I think you could probably find some FCS schools that can match up with FBS schools pretty decently, starter for starter. But it's definitely the depth,
right,
and the backup guys that will make the difference. And you hit the nail right on the head, I think, with the way the weather's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a very hot week anyway. I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty hot one on Saturday too.
Yeah, I haven't heard that far ahead.
Potential rain on Wednesday, Thursday, so that help us cool down a little bit.
That might cool it down a little bit. Okay, on their defensive line, they've got 2 sophomores, a senior and a junior that anchor their defensive line. Sophomore Jake Anderson, 6'5", 270. He's played 10 games last season, 34 tackles and 5 for a loss. Greg Galloway, 6'2", 275. He started 4 games last season, had 22 tackles in those 4 games. Senior Jake Siegel, 6'3", 280, 7 tackles recorded. Junior Nick Kessler, 6'6", 265. He recorded 13 tackles. Now, they do have a couple of edge rusher types that one of them's pretty good. Jalen Gaines, I imagine he'll be talked about quite a bit Saturday during pregame. 6'4", 235, 62 tackles, 10 for loss, 5.5 sacks. And then also he's a senior. Also senior Garrett Steffen, 6'4", 270. He played 11 games last season, 27 tackles, 4.5 for loss. So defensive line, they're young in places, but they're also veteran in places. I think the one thing you got to worry about with them on defensive line is their edge rushers. I think they're both pretty solid. They'd probably be right there if like Northwestern would come calling. You guys would probably be in the top 2 deeps, I would think, even at Northwestern or maybe even at an Iowa,
Illinois.
Yeah, or Illinois. Their kicker and their punter is the same person. I don't see that very often. His name is Ian Wagner. He was 8 for 10 on field goals last year, but only 43 for long. So he may not have the super long leg. He can't kick a 60-yarder, but he was also 6 of 7 on extra points, which doesn't seem like a lot. 6 out of 7. Maybe he came in late. Or maybe there was somebody else that did it too. But anyway, as a punter, he averaged 37.6 yards per punt. He did hit 3 over 50 yards, and he put 12 punts inside the 20. And that's really all I have on Illinois State.
Sounds like a middling kicking game. I mean,
yeah,
solid, but nothing spectacular.
Hope this guy doesn't pull a quad or something, because then he'll be SOL with kicker and punter. I don't want to put 2 eggs in all in one basket. If I want to do it, I want 1 egg in one basket and 1 egg in another basket in case I drop one.
Well, but you're at the FCS level, so you may not have the option to have a second guy that can put in there. But yeah, again, that's their problem to deal with.
Yeah.
I think the weather's going to be a factor. The heat is going to take some out of these guys. It's going to force them to go deeper into their bench, and that's where Iowa's going to have the advantage. Probably going to struggle the first drive or 2, I'd say. Just kind of getting our feet under us, figuring out what the defense is doing. We'll probably see some things out of the first 2 drives that will make us slam our fists down in disgust at the offense. But give it a minute. Understand that this is the first live action that they've had in a year, and this is the first live action they've had with this offense. So,
don't be too upset.
Yeah, if you're
if they
looking fourth
struggle.
quarter and it's still that way, then you've got every right to be concerned.
Here's how I kind of envision this game going. I envision Iowa running the ball at least 60 to 70% of the time.
Yeah, I do too.
I just think that they are only going to throw the ball in third down and long situations. And then they may run draws and stuff like that. I think Iowa offensive line should, if everything we're hearing out of Camp Kinnick is correct, then the offensive line should allow Iowa to run the ball consistently and effectively.
Yeah.
So, my thought is that Iowa runs the ball decent, kicks a couple field goals, when they probably should have scored a touchdown, and, people are going to get upset. It's going to be 6-0 after the first, or, maybe Iowa hits on a nice long run, maybe Caleb Johnson or LaShawn, I see him Daniels, but it's Williams, maybe breaks off a 25 or 30-yard run and scores a touchdown. I only look at this game and I don't really see a lot out of Illinois State from an offensive standpoint that's going to get past Iowa's defense. I look at the first half being like 13-0.
I was going to say 13-3.
Yeah. So, I don't want people to get too upset at first game. Like you said, there's a lot of things there's a lot of moving parts.
And it's probably going to be fairly vanilla.
Yep. And especially with Kirk sitting at home, if that's where he is.
And you've got Iowa State the next week. You don't want to show them a whole lot of the new offense.
Right.
So they have stuff to game plan for. You're going to break some of that stuff out in that second game, more than likely. You're going to keep it as close to the vest as possible in the first game. You're going to do enough to get by to win. Hopefully do enough to win comfortably.
It's going to be a workmanlike effort.
Yeah, I think you said running the ball is going to be crucial. And I think
Paramount.
from what, from the sounds of it, it sounds like that's where our bread and butter is right now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I do foresee them possibly going a little short pass, up-tempo start of the game just to kind of get them back on their heels, work them when it's a little bit warmer, but get a little bit of a rhythm going and try to get some of that passing game moving, even if it is just 5-yard outs or whatever, or little slants across the middle. Slant across the middle, that's something we haven't seen in Iowa for 5 or 6 years now, and that's everybody does it to us.
Yeah.
And if you can get 5 or 6 yards every play on a slant, I don't care if it takes you 10, 12 plays to get down the field and score.
Well, one of the things too that we have to also kind of keep in mind is the style of play that's in the MVC conference. They do run a little more up-tempo, not from a speed standpoint, but just from they like to spread the field and like to run guys every which direction. That's how the Missouri Valley Conference pretty much is. So Iowa's going to have to be, head on a swivel on defense. And then, their defense is going to have to look at our offense and say, well, we're going to have to either take away the run or take away the pass. I have imagined they'll be stacking the box because they'll know Iowa will try to run more than pass. So there may be some sticking points early with the running game. But if I'm the defensive coordinator at Illinois State and I'm watching Iowa and I'm hearing everything I'm hearing because I'm scouting my opponent, I'm thinking I'm going to have 4 up front and I'm going to run 4.
3 linebackers,
at least
safety up.
Maybe 4 linebackers. I'm going to stack that box. I'm going to make sure that Iowa's not going to beat me running. They're going to have to beat me passing, and they may be able to beat them both ways. It's hard to say with Iowa at this point because we haven't seen it yet. I
look for Iowa to come out throwing the ball early.
I hope that they do, and I hope that they can make completions.
Because I think that's what exactly what they're thinking is they're going to stack the box on us. Let's go out and let's try to do something, even if it's just getting the ball into the hands of playmakers, even on the edge, throw little quick screens, passes over the middle. You do a lot of those little short out routes that opens up the seam for the tight ends. I look for that kind of stuff to happen. I don't look for them to do a whole lot of fancy stuff to do that. They'll probably establish the pass to try to establish the run so you can, get them out of that 8-man box. Because I think, if you try to go out there and just start running the ball, they kind of know you're going to do that. I think they're going to have it game planned for that. So I think you kind of have to maybe change things up a little bit, maybe try to pass the ball a little bit. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
But you got to do it.
At least you got to give them something to think about.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. You
come out and throw the ball like the first 3 plays and go 3 and out. You're showing them that you want to throw the ball. That might bring them out of that 8-man. They might keep that safety back a little bit and open up that run game a little bit more.
Maybe we do more play action, stuff like that.
Yeah. And, offensive coordinator against the defense coordinator is a chess match.
Yep.
You play things early to do things later.
Yep.
And so, you establish things at the beginning of the game that you want to hit them with later. So, hopefully that's what they do. And, my personal opinion, I feel this is probably similar to the 2015. Iowa won 31-14 that year. I'm looking probably 31-10, 34-10, something like that.
Yeah.
28.
I'm with you on that. I don't see Illinois State scoring a touchdown. I really don't. Not against Iowa's defense, unless Iowa gets up, 34-0 at the end of the third quarter, and then we start dropping, a bunch of guys in that don't play number one defense. Then maybe they
or you just go into a prevent defense.
Yeah, kind of a hey, we've scored enough, we're good. Like 34-7, 34-3 is kind of where I'm at this point. Who knows? Do you have a bold prediction? Something that just kind of like Cade McNamara is going to throw for 260 yards and 2 TDs? Do you have anything bold that you want to predict?
I have 2.
Okay.
Iowa will return a punt for a touchdown, and will return a interception for a touchdown.
Oh, that'd be nice. I can see the interception thing maybe. I don't know about punt though. We'll see. I hope Caden Weegan takes one back. That'd be nice.
I'm thinking potentially Brevin Dahl.
Brevin Dahl, if he's in that position. I haven't heard that he's returning any kicks.
I've listened to guys talk about how he's the fastest guy on the team. He's faster than Weegan.
Well, that is fast because Weegan's got some speed.
That's, remember Tim DeWhite being the fastest guy on that team and what he could do. And he was magic with the ball in his hands as a punt returner. So I can foresee, I foresee if he's going to get into the game, that's where he's going to get in at. Is probably at a kick return or punt return situation.
Right.
And it might be more later, third, fourth quarter type of situation too.
Right. He might be too good to put a red shirt on this year.
I think that the interception for touchdown is probably going to come early. The punt return would be late.
I would have thought the opposite, but that's okay. I don't really have any bold predictions. I think you'll see Cade start, of course. That's not really a bold prediction, but I think you're going to see Brendan Sullivan maybe midway through the third. If Iowa's up, they're going to save Cade and not, especially if the weather's hot. They're going to say, you've done enough. We're good. Let's let Brendan finish the game out for us, and we'll come back strong against Iowa State next week.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Brendan Sullivan getting some actual assigned reps early.
Some quality reps early.
You run Cade out there for the first 3 possessions, and he gets the 4th possession. And,
that's all going to be up to Kirk.
Situational stuff. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And he's not going to be there, but I'm sure he'll have his name and fingertips all over the game plan.
Yeah. He'll have a spreadsheet of how it should go.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sure he will.
Which is fine. I mean, that's,
I don't know anything else other than that. I do want to say, I want to shout out to Dean over at Talking Iowa Hawkeye Sports. He called me up or messaged me on Tuesday of last week and asked if I could come on and help with his podcast, and I was very honored to do so. And I had a great time. It was fun. Him and South Bend Hawkeye. We had a good time, and I know you were there from.
I joined in
from the Bahamas, only on like chat, but it was fun. We had a good time, and I appreciate those guys. You should give them a listen. It's Talking Iowa Hawkeye Sports, and it's Dean over there, and he goes live somewhat frequently.
He was
a couple times a week.
Live today, actually.
In fact, I think he's live. In fact, right now, and I want to say, so just appreciate him asking me And I would be more than happy to do it anytime he wants. And, I just enjoy being around people that like to talk about Iowa Hawkeye sports, basketball, football, baseball, any of the in-betweens, and people who have a like mind that I do. And it's an enjoyable, I just have a good time. I enjoy doing that. So I appreciate him getting a hold of me and asking me if I would do that. And I did have a good time. So thanks, Dean.
We can always return to favor at some point too and have them on ours.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Right.
Get a chance for me to set the record straight on being a Kirk Ferentz apologist here.
Yeah.
Of which I am not.
Maybe I will get a hold of him and ask him if he wants to come on.
More than welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always like the opinions. I mean, I'm not gonna tell somebody that their opinion's wrong if they don't agree with me. That's perfectly fine to not agree with me. I know that people don't have to share the same opinions as I do. And, I try to find as much positive in things as I can, just because you start dwelling on everything negative. It does affect your life in a negative way. So yeah, I say things like, Deacon Hill was a terrible quarterback, but he did give us 10 wins. That's trying to put the positive spin on, as some people would say, that's putting a dress on a turd, but it's what it is.
Yeah, lipstick
and
on
I'm
pig.
Trying to look at that as saying, hey, as bad as he was, we still won 10 games. Yeah, we probably could have won 11 or 12 if he was better. And I don't disagree with that one bit. But you can't argue with the fact that he did win, well, I think it was 6 games.
He was credited with winning those.
Credited with them. Yeah, they won in spite of him, yes.
Pretty much.
When the records, you look at him 10 years from now, he's going to have his name on that win.
Yeah.
And that's, people aren't going to know anything different, especially new fans that are going to say, oh, well, this guy must have been decent. Well, no, he wasn't, but he did get the win.
Yeah. So next week, we will probably be talking about the Illinois State game.
Well, there's probably no talk probably about that. We
will be talking about it. And then I'm going to do, we'll probably do a preview of Iowa State. So I'll do something similar to this. I don't know if I'll get as in depth. I don't know that I can sit and stomach looking at their stuff that long. I may have to do it in short spurts. Everybody knows me, knows that I have a disdain for Iowa State. I always have. I have since at least 2002 and maybe before that. And, but we'll hopefully get the win this weekend and work for a win the next weekend.
Yeah. Start ourselves off on a positive note. With that being said, that kind of leads me into my question of the week this week. Outside of the COVID year of 2020, when was the last time Iowa lost a season opener? And who was it?
Ooh, double-ended.
And if you want to go as far as to give me the score without Googling it, I take that as well. But I had to go back and double check, make sure I was correct. I couldn't remember the score, but I remembered the opponent. And I thought I remembered the year, and I was right on the year. But you got to go back a few years.
I'm not going to give any hints. I know you told me what it was.
The last time Iowa lost a home opener, regardless, or not a home opener, a season opener, was 2020 when they lost to Purdue at Purdue. And they lost to Purdue, and then they lost to Northwestern, and then they ran the table after that, and ended up going, 12, 13, 14 straight before they lost to Purdue again.
We're not going to count the COVID year. You already said that, so we'll just
no.
bypass
I'm
that.
talking. I want to know during a regular year, when was the last time Iowa lost a season opener?
Right.
And ironically, it was a home opener. So that is the question. And last week we did have the question of predict your final results for Iowa. I don't know that anybody has yet, but you still have plenty of time.
Actually, Dean from Talking Iowa Hawkeye Sports did.
Okay. Well, we are working on T-shirts that are not done by Ray Gunn. And actually, our cousin in Oklahoma said he would do them at this point. So
I didn't know that you'd talk to him.
Yep. He got a hold of me. So I'm having the logo redesigned. I'm going to have the print sent down there. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll have some shirts that we can we can display proudly as our own, and we're out in public. I did have somebody ask me. I had this shirt on while I was down in the Bahamas at one point, and somebody asked me about it, and my wife said, "Well, that's a perfect opportunity. You should, plug your podcast." I said, "I plug my podcast to people that I think would actually listen to it." This guy was just wanting to know what it meant, so I said, "Hey, it's Iowa. We value our punter here. He is the key to winning a lot of games." So,
yep.
But so there you have it.
Do you want to hit
I don't
us
think
up
I have
with how
anything
people
else
can
for
get
this
a hold of
week.
me? I don't have anything else. If you want to hit everybody up and let them know how they can find us and all the fun stuff.
If you like the content, like and subscribe here on YouTube. I think we're up to 14 or 15 subscribers now, which is
more than that.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, we picked up 2 last week.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
More than happy to have the subscribers. Want to have some input, some interaction. Like I said, maybe we'll get some of these fans on, bring them on here and talk to them. Maybe we'll do a live cast at some point, like Dean does, and get some people on. We get some live interactions with it. So you can always catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at Punting is Winning, and our Facebook page at Punting is Winning. We will have the question of the week posted there. We'll have all our links posted on that page as well. Any pertinent information that we come up with, if we decide to start selling shirts, we'll probably do it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let them know that they can get a hold of us on Facebook, do a comment, and we'll just either direct message them or they can direct message us on Facebook. That way they can get a hold of us. If they have questions or if they want to, buy some swag or whatever, then we'll, but not yet because it's not ready yet, but we'll let you know.
We'll update the page with our new design when it's done. It's going to be done more in black and gold instead of the turquoise and red and white, which just was a generic logo that I whipped up in 5 minutes one day.
It's worked so far.
Yeah. So I'll have to do a whole new intro to the podcast. But hey, it's fun to do.
Yeah.
All right. With that, let's wrap it up, and we'll end on a Go Hawks for game week, and look forward to watching a game on the weekend.
Yeah.
So glad football's back. We didn't even talk about the week 0 games when I don't even know that we need to. Florida State losing is good. That's fine.
Check yourself out of the playoff right now.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, people are giving them a pass on this one already. So whatever.
They'll probably win enough to get in anyway.
Yeah. So, all right. We will chat with you next week. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.